You are welcome to Preci's channel. In this video, I'll be showing you how to run Way Anova. This video contains two parts, the theoretical part and the practical part. In the theoretical part, you'll be learning what is Way Anova, the primary purpose of using Way Anova, the 6 assumptions of Way Anova, and the step-by-step procedure of running Way Anova. While the practical part, I'll be showing you how to use SPSS software to run Way Anova analysis. And before that, you should be able to have SPSS software installed in your system. If you don't have that, you can go to Google, you download the software, or you can buy the software from any computer business center. So what is Way Anova? Way Anova, which represents two analysis of variance, is a statistical technique that is used to analyze the influence of two independent variables with different groups having different means on a dependent variable. For example, analyze the influence of educational level and gender on farm income of rice farmers participating in a rice project in Ebonyi State, Nigeria. This objective, the appropriate tool for its analysis is Way Anova, because it has two independent variables and one dependent variable, and are trying to determine the interaction effect between the two independent variables on the dependent variable. And these independent variables, for example, educational level, has different groups like primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. And also gender on its own has different groups like male and female. And each of the different groups in the independent variables has also different means. Like the mean of someone of those in primary school level is quite different from those in the secondary school, and quite different from those in that of tertiary. And for gender, the different groups in gender is male and female, and they're different, and they have different mean. The mean of male is quite from the mean of female. So once your objective is this way, the appropriate tool you use to analyze it is Way Anova. The primary purpose of a Way Anova is to determine or understand the interaction between the two independent variables on the dependent variable. For example, you could use Way Anova to understand whether there is an interaction between educational level and gender on farm income. That is the interaction effect between the educational level and gender. How does it affect farm income? That is what you'll be able to understand once you use Way Anova. It will make you to understand the interaction between the educational level and gender on farm income. Then you should also know that if you run the analysis and your interaction effect is statistically significant, that means you need to run a further test, which is a simple main effect, which you use to interpret your result. But if there is no interaction, that is, the interaction is not statistically significant, that means you should use main effect to interpret your result. Then, however, before we introduce you to the procedures of how to run Way Anova, you need to understand 6 assumptions that must meet in order for a Way Anova to give you a valid result. The assumption 1 is that your dependent variable should be measured at the continuous level. What do you mean by that? In our previous example, our dependent variable is farm income, and farm income is measured in naira. That is, the dependent variable is quantifiable. So if your dependent variable is not quantifiable, that objective cannot be addressed or analyzed with Way Anova. Then the second assumption is that your independent variable should each consist of 2 or more categorical independent groups. For example, as we earlier said, we made use of educational level and gender. Each of them has different groups that are independent on themselves. For example, primary level is independent on the secondary, and the secondary is independent on the tertiary. Again, gender, male and female, they are independent. So with your objective, one of the independent variable, two of the independent variable have these different groups that are independent on themselves, then you know that you can use your two-way ANOVA to run the analysis. The assumption 3 says that you should have independency of observation, which means that there is no relationship between the observation in each group or between the groups themselves. For example, there must be different participants in each group, with no participants being in more than one group. What do you mean by that? For instance, educational level, the different groups there is primary, secondary, and tertiary. Someone in primary school cannot at the same time be in secondary school, and someone in secondary school cannot be at the same time be in tertiary. So once your objective, your independent variable means that, that means you can be able to use two-way ANOVA to run your analysis. The assumption 4 is that there should be no significant outliers. Outliers are data points within your data that do not follow the usual pattern. What do you mean by that? For the different groups like primary and secondary, now we observe those in primary school like their mean to be 50. Now it is appropriate that if the mean of 10 or 100 primary school students, if their mean of their income is 50, then if you now have someone that his own value is from 100 and above, you know that it will have an effect on the mean, on the actual mean. So this will cause what we call outlier, and outliers, it has a negative effect on two-way ANOVA because it reduces the accuracy of your results. That's assumption 5. Your dependent variable should be approximately normally distributed for each combination of the groups of the two independent variables. For you to test for this normality, you use Shapiro-Wilk test. It can be done with SPSS software. Then assumption 6 says there is no need to be homogeneity of variance for each combination of the groups of the two independent variables, and this can be tested using Levene's test for homogeneity of variance. So if your objectives meets all these 6 assumptions, that means the appropriate tool for you to analyze that is two-way ANOVA. But if it meets 4, most especially the first 4, that means you can be able to use two-way ANOVA. And there is some approach you can also use to correct if there is non-normally if the data is not normally distributed, and if there is heterogeneity of the variance among the data. So now let's go to the procedures to run two-way ANOVA in SPSS. First of all, once you launch your SPSS in your system, then you click Analyze on the top menu, then you select General Linear Model, then the univariate dialog box will appear. After you might have selected univariate, then you transfer the dependent variable, in this case you're using farm income, to the dependent variable box using the pointing arrow key. Then you also transfer educational level and gender to the fixed factor box using the arrow key. Then you click on plot button. Univariate profile plots will appear. Dialog box will appear. And once it appears, what do you do? Once it appears, you transfer the educational level from the factor box into the horizontal box as is. Then you transfer gender into the separate line box. Why? Remember, the educational level has 3 different groups, so you have to transfer it to the horizontal axis box. While the gender has 2 groups, so you transfer it to the separate lines. Then you click the add button. Edu level interaction with gender will appear at the plot box. Then you click the continue button. Then you click the post hoc button. The invariant post hoc multiple comparison for observed names dialog box will appear. Then once this appears, you transfer the edu level from the factor box to the post hoc test box. Then you select Turkey, which is a good all-round post hoc test. Then note, you only need to transfer independent variable that have more than 2 groups in the post hoc test box. This is why we are not going to transfer gender to that post hoc test box. Then after that, you click the continue button. The inverted dialog box will appear, and you click the option button. The inverted option dialog box will appear. Then you transfer gender edu level and gender interaction with edu level from the factors and factor interaction box into a display names box. Then you click the continue button after you might have ticked descriptive statistics option and other options that you feel like ticking, and then you click OK. Then once you have done this, your output result will appear. So this is the theoretical part. I will be taking you to the practical part, but before that, try to subscribe to this channel, because this is the only way I can be able to get benefit of this video. And again, the subscription is free. It does not have effect on your data or on your money in your phone. So thank you. So to run the two-way Anova analysis, first of all, show you how you import your data from your document and then into your SPSS. You go to file, you go to open, you locate data, click on it, then you go to the folder and select which of the SPSS data you wish to use. So in this case, I'm using untitled one. I'll click open. So see, my data appeared. So I'm going to make use of educational level, SES, and then annual farm income. So I'll quickly go to analyze. Then you locate general linear model, select univariate. Then under dependent variable, I'm going to transfer income, farm income, to dependent variable. Then SES, which is gender, and then educational level to the fees factor. Then I'll go to plots. Then transfer SES to the separate line and educational level to the horizontal line. Then I'll click add. So the interaction of educational qualification and SES. Yeah. Then I'll click continue. Then you go to post hook test. Then you only transfer educational level because it has more than 2 groups, so you leave SES. Then I'll select talk, I'll click continue. Then I'll go to option, then you select all, then click enter. Then select discrete statistics, homogeneity test, that is for variance, and then estimate of effects. So let's compare means effect. Use upon Ferroni. Click continue. Then you click OK. So these are my results. So I have successfully run two-way Anova. So in this way your results will appear. So in my next video, watch it out. I will show you the necessary table you will use to interpret your results. Thank you. Remember to hit the subscribe button on this video.